So in terms of like trading, like a lot of times, like when you have like a big trend day, like we had, if you dump in the last like 5-10 minutes, in the old days, the close was the most important part of a chart because that's what like forms the daily candle and stuff like that. The last couple years, the close means shit because it's just posturing for the next day. You could dump into the close and still gap up, multiple percent. So the candle of the QQQs looks a lot worse than the action really was. The market went ham all day. Like every stock was up 20-30% at one point. You see stocks that were just going just bananas. I mean, look at the range on this little thing. Look at the titties on this thing, right? You were having big ranges, from top to bottom. So I wouldn't read too much into the end of day dump yesterday. It looked like it was because of some stimulus thing. I don't even know. From what I've seen, I'm almost 40 years old now, man. I never seen Bernie Sanders ever make a bill for anything and said like Bernie Sanders is going to hold up a bill. Everybody knows. Ain't nobody doing nothing, right? We're going to take those stimulus checks and we all going out and buy new iPhones. Ain't nobody use that $1,200 for their rent. They gotta go be running around getting new iPhones and then save maybe a few $100 for when the bar's open. That's America in a nutshell. I really hope that's not the case, but you just know sometimes in your head that's the case. Now, we're going to ramp up a little bit here. I was hoping for the red to green. Don't be surprised to see this thing kind of start. If we hold the red to green spot, then we'll come back up into this area. And then that's when we're going to get like, that's when we'll get into some like different levels of resistance. I think what we have to be wary of today is, because if we start coming back into this level, do like a lot of the stocks start to like kind of double top on a short-term basis, like these kind of names like RCL that are like really extended. The market doesn't look like it's gone up much. But if you look at a lot of the stocks, they've already doubled. Like RCL, double. It's funny when the market's tanking, right, everybody? What did everybody say? This is an epic buying opportunity. I'm going to add some swings and just sit around forever, right? And then nobody does it. I sure did it. Look at this MGM, right? This thing was at $6, right? You're already past the double. So you got a lot of stocks that have just doubled. Planet Fitness. This thing was at $24. It already doubled. So you've got a lot of... Hey, Kevin from Singapore, how you doing? You got a lot of stocks that have doubled. This is TC2000. So you got a lot of stocks that have already doubled. So that's where I'm going to be. That's where I'm a little bit more hesitant today. Now, the general indexes look like they've got room to go. The general index has got room to go. The general index has got room to go, but a lot of the individual names are going to be sitting at resistance. So like if you see here, I'm going to show you, like this is a daily chart for Planet Fitness. If you see here, this was the old flat bottom breakdown spot, and like now you're like right back into it. So you can see here, like see this is like big level, test. It's like you're like kind of right up into it. You've had like 5 green days into it. So how does it work there? Do we start to refade some or not? That's where the tricky part comes in because the indexes look like you've got more room to go, but a lot of individual stocks are looking like they're at resistance. So a couple things that you guys need to do today. Number one, we need to look for stocks and maybe have it moved. Right? Trailers. So you have market leaders, the stocks that are up the most in the last 5 days, and then you have what are essentially called trailers. Trailers are stocks that haven't moved yet, and I think that's going to be kind of important to do for the next couple days. And the other part is, as there's a shift from whatever's been leading the way to a shift in money into, it's just a turnover, right? So you get a shift in money that from the stuff that's been leading the way into the things that haven't moved yet. So easy scan to run every single day is like if you go and run so if you do on your T2000, you do total market or US common stocks and you build out your filters, right? If you go here, you can run a filter for the last 5 days. You see that? So you got 90-day, 30-day, 5-day, year-to-date, 6-month scan. So if you do a quick filter for like what are the stocks that are up the most the last 5 days, you see this so you'll start to see very, very specific things. You'll start to see specific things in terms of what's been working. As a trader, you have to know what's been working in current market conditions, meaning in bull market, what was working, in bear market, what was working, and then, okay, now we're in the rebound phase. What is working? So what you need to always do is figure out what are the stocks that are up the most in the last so many days in this current market condition. So you see here, there's a 5-day momentum scan. So you got 221, the chef, this play. So you're starting to see like a specific type. See resorts and casinos. So you start to see like, okay, restaurants, this is resorts and casinos, food, right? So you start to build out ideas of like what is actually moving. Cruise line, see this thing, $7 to $20. So now you have an idea, like see this, there are 26 stocks that are up over 100% in the last 5 days. And if you go in like stocks that are up over 50% in the last 5 days, what do you have here? 141. And now I have filters. There's probably a lot more, but I have a filter of price over 8, volume over 500,000. So now you have an idea of like what's kind of working in this current market. And that's where like a big focus, has to be, because those are going to be the relative strength. So as the market starts to rebound, those are going to be the ones that, you really, really want to watch as they're starting to lead the way. Now, the market will inevitably pull back. So like a lot of these ones that are getting really extended, like see this pen, it's going from 4 to 14. If the market starts to pull back, these will be the first ones also to short because they're moving around the most here. So just like a couple things to be mindful of. You guys got to always know on any particular given time frame, whether it's a 90-day, 30-day, 5-day, year-to-date, what are what are the stocks that are actually moving around? And you can do like U.S. common stocks if you want. You can do total market for like global stocks. It doesn't really matter. It's more a matter of preference. But I would definitely add that filter in to like what you guys do. Banks stink to trade. Banks stink to trade. So that's just something to kind of keep mind of. Put that in your TC2000. It'll be a good way to go. So game plan for today. So I backtrack here sometimes. Game plan for today. This is the line in the sand on the QQQs, right? If we break below, then I'm going to lean short. If you see here, this looks like, kind of like a head and shoulders if it breaks down. Now, a head and shoulders is only confirmed if it breaks the neckline. So anything, set an alert here, anything under 178, I think that sets us back into a little bit of a retracement back into this. When you have bear market trading, all right, or you have like a big dump in the market, almost always there is a shakeout after when the new bull starts. I'm not saying it's new bull, but when the market rebounds, there's almost always a double Lutzy. A double Lutzy means like you start the rebound and then it gets yanked and everybody's like, oh shit, the bear market's back on. And then it comes back and either kind of retests the lows or makes a higher low, and then it rips back, all right? We call that the double Lutzy or the shake and bake or the pull and pray. It's when you find your wife making love to the pool boy and you get really scared and then you find out it's just your brother. Something like that. So be mindful, if we break under here, we may start to come back, but most likely the lows are probably put in. If you look at market breadth or anything like that, you're starting to see, first of all, market breadth is at really the lowest I've seen in quite some time. So this is the number of stocks that are under its major moving averages. So it's been the lowest it's been since 2009. So that's something that's at like an extreme level. But the other thing that you're starting to see is like a rounding on this. And so once the market breadth starts to ramp up, and you've got a long way to go, even till 20, that's when you'll start to see a real ramp in the market. So if we pull back, the key is going to be, and at some point we will, the market will yank it. The market will push and then yank it. The key is going to be, do we make a double bottom or a higher low? Almost always in my many years of trading, almost always does the market, where's my hat? Almost always does the market pulls back. Hold on one sec. If I could turn back time, if I could find a way. So that's always going to be the case. So let's see. If we break under 180, we'll pull back a little bit, and then we'll see if we double bottom. Don't get FOMO in this market where you think like, wow, the market's flying and I'm not in anything. Almost always the market will pull back and give you another shot. So you don't need to get that FOMO. Like, you're going to have a lot of opportunity to still play stuff. So the main focus for today, things that we want to be trading, all right? I've got a handful of names I think still can go. If the market rolls over or breaks down, we've got Lululemon over here. We got Lululemon over here right at resistance. You got a big breakdown, and now you had a 60-point retracement. So it's like nearly a 50% move right into the 200 SMA. So if it taps into this 200 SMA, so I'm going to just set an alert here. If you right-click on your TC1000, you can set a price alert. If it gets near 200, I'm looking at a potential short on this one. Roku. Now Roku is starting to look like a rebound here. So if Roku can build a flag out for the next couple days on this thing, like this one actually looks like it's got a chance to get even a little bit higher. I like the bounce on Roku. You can start to see like the volume patterns have shifted. You didn't really see that much selling on the last few days. Like this one's got a chance to the upside. CVNA is another one. I think this one's got another day's worth of room. And then like you start to see around here whether it turns into a short. This one's got a sick mover though. It was 24 bucks. Now you're at 62. So this is also something that's relative strength that's starting to look pretty good. Yeah, I think we got one more day on this bad boy too. TLRY, for those of you guys that like these little small guys, or small boys. Ooh, that sounds dirty, right? This is a rounding bottom play. So if you see here, this $5 mark is very, very important. You've got yourself, hold on here. You've got yourself a nice, this is called a 1, 2, 3 pattern, or a base breakout. So you've got yourself like a rebound. So this thing was at 20 bucks a couple days ago. You pop under the 9 EMA, and then you're breaking it right over. So see how it looks like a little bit of a W right there? That's got a chance to get going. If you look over here, let me see. Hold on here. If you look at TLY, 50% of the float is short. So what I mean by 50% of the float is short is it's got a lot of people that are betting against it still. Your market cap on this only like 500 million. Remember, this thing was like in the billions on billions. You may have a chance to get this thing going. Pot stocks have also been doing okay. You don't have any resistance to like $7, $8. This one looks good. Now remember, just because something looks good on the daily chart does not mean that you buy it. You have to wait for what? You have to wait for an intraday pattern. So you like a stock on the daily, and then you have to match it with what's happening on the intraday. So like ideally, this type of stock too, because it it can kind of rip and dip and shake and bake. You want to always hit TRY on pullbacks. Ideally you want to hit it on like a quick pullback setup. A quick pullback or a first pullback setup is a very, very simple setup that you guys can all, start utilizing right away, which is, if you look, like this is like a quick pullback setup. So if you get a stock that opens up really, really strong, so TRY is going to open up pretty strong, right? So you got this thing, pulls back into the 9 EMA. See how you start to like just grind it, just rip it, ride it, grind it, good. Rip it, ride it, grind it, good. So you got this thing like kind of just rolling on that 9 EMA, and then boof, like it'll push up like that. That's a first pullback or a quick pullback setup. That's the easiest setup for new traders to do. I know sometimes when I'm trading in the chat room in front of you guys, we're like wheeling and dealing and ripping and roaring and shaking and baking, and it's fast. But like if you're a new trader and you're like sitting there like, what is an easy setup for me to trade on when I'm brand new that's low risk, high reward? I would go with the first pullback setup. And that means like you get a spike at the open, right? And then you start to hold at your 9 or 20 EMA, get a couple green candles to hold, let it build, and then you got yourself a nice push, all right? That's the easiest way to go. So TRY, you're getting already a nice push in the morning. Watch it for like that kind of setup. You're going to get this, see you're already at 516, you're going to get 620, so it's going to have like a strong open. Let that thing pull back, right? Let it pull back, hold at the 9 or the 20 EMA, and then boom, you can push it. That's the best way to manage your risk, but also get yourself into momentum, okay? And that's the name of the game, right? How can we manage our risk and get ourselves into momentum? I think we got a rounding bottom on this BRZU. This is the 3X ETF for Brazil. And, we have the Favela Storm in our chat room, who is, Sao Paulo's finest day trader. And he's loving this one too. But you can see here, you got like a nice kind of rounded bottom over here. So you got this thing that's at $40. You come back, nice rounded bottom over here. The range on this is pretty good, like 50 cents yesterday. I like the way it's starting to look. Now, only issue on this is it's 3X ETF, so these inherently have a decay in them. But I think as long as you're kind of holding this zone here, and you can come out of this one here, this one's got some room to go. This one's got some room to go. I was looking at this Russia one too, but frankly, this is America, and I'm still pissed that Ivan Drago killed Apollo Creed. So I don't know if I can even play this one after what happened in Rocky IV. That scarred me for life, man. You guys remember Rocky IV, man? Fantastic movie, by the way, though. Fantastic. It was a fantastic movie. It showed what true American greatness is all about, okay? It showed strong leadership, okay? We were very strong, and then we were good, okay? And that's what we want to do to all the world. Ivan Drago, he was an evil man, and Rocky, he showed him who's boss. The great people of Philadelphia can be proud of their great son, who is an Italian American, okay? I repeat, he's Italian and American, which is like the best of everything because he likes Big Macs, but also pizza. So, but this thing looks good over the 9 EMA. But, for patriotic reasons, I don't know if I can do it. Yes! Let's take a look at UVXY. UVXY stuck under this 9 EMA here. You can already see this thing is starting to grind down. At this point, like some of this, it may come and start to wind down here as this looks like a lower high. We were strong. We did a great job. Okay. It was great leadership. Yes, look at this thing. Woo! This thing's got probably a little... If the market starts to go ham, this thing will be back in the 45s in no time. You just need a little bit of a setup and then you're good to go. So I like this thing for a potential short. If you start to curl this thing down, I think we'll have we're gonna have ourselves a little pizza party on this one. This thing was down into $9. So as the market starts to really ramp up and kick it going, this thing is gonna die. Probably this TVIX is gonna die out too. You can already see the range. It's dropped like $80 already. So you can't chase it down. But if you start to spike this thing, then you're good to go. No socks, baby. But this was the one I was using in my video the other day. Yeah, you can't chase this thing down, but watch this thing on spikes. Usually it gets a good spike, and then it kind of fizzles out the rest of the day. Yeah, Grandpa John, you know how it goes. So moral of the story, TVIX, UVXY. These are our traders. I think the ZM is ready for a bounce again, too. You had a nice, easy pullback. One more dip on this, and we're going to get a sick long on this. Like, you're going to get this thing, one more dip, just a little bit of intraday weakness. We'll get this thing right back up into it. Lulu short at 200, potentially. And you know what? There's actually some decent gappers around here. So you got like Salmon, CSIQ, blah, 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 Cake, Nothing that crazy, but I would stick with the names that you know. And watch a lot of these casinos. Like if you start to, if the market still keeps pushing, like these names like Win and stuff that were like, this was $150, so it's still down 50%. Like you'll start to see some action on this. Like obviously Win Casino's not going anywhere. So like any kind of action on this one is going to be pretty good. BYND could be a potential short today. Now this gap down is because of a downgrade. So who knows, like it's already, it already got smoked out like $10 on the downgrade. But if it starts to squeeze, we'll let it pop and then we'll probably be able to fade this thing too. So watch this thing here. Like if this thing breaks over 70 and we start to fill this gap, then I think we'll start looking at this for potential short for a day trade. We'll get this thing going. Sweet. Guys, trade well today. You know the deal. We got to go and do what we do. This has been a wild market. What you want to make sure you're doing in this market, though, don't oversize. Watch your over trading. When the market shows so much range and so much volatility, it's easy to suck yourself into thinking you're Superman, that you're going to have like just huge days every day. And then what happens, you start over trading. You get maybe a little bit of decision fatigue. And then, you're all over the place. And then when like those unique opportunities come, then you don't get the meat of the move that you need because you've been just trading and trading. If you're ripping like 100 trades in a day, then when the hot one comes, like sometimes you don't recognize that it's the hot one because you have that decision fatigue. But the main thing is like trade a little bit smaller because the market is still volatile right now, and let the ranges play out. If a stock is going to move, like $10, $11 in a day, like large cap stocks, if it's going to move $10, $11 in a day, like you don't need 1,000 shares of it, even if you can afford 1,000 shares. Because like every time it drops a little bit, you'll sell it. What you want to do is just have like a nice, easy share size. You can use like $1 stop loss, have a few hundred shares, and let this thing ride and do what it's supposed to do, which is build out its range. When you have that, that's when you're going to really make some good money, but you're going to do it without like a lot of stress. When you oversize, you overtrade because every single penny that it moves up or down is like impactful to you. A trade shouldn't be impactful to you. Like you shouldn't have so much size where like you're watching it tick by tick and like, oh my God, and being overly reactive. You just got to let these things roll and do what they got to do. So let's go do what we do. Let's have a little fun.